A lot has changed since Stranger Things launched nearly 10 years ago, and it's not just all the kids being old enough to drink now. Many of the plot points from the early seasons now mean a lot more or a lot less in hindsight. A key revelation of Stranger Things Season 4 was that Vecna, aka Henry Creel, aka One, wasn't just a big bad of the season, he was behind everything.
Everything.
So naturally, that colors every single event that's happened on the show up to that point. 11 doesn't just open the initial portal to the Upside Down randomly. It's Vecna's doing. He wants revenge on 11 for sending him there to begin with. He sent the Demogorgon. The Mind Flayer is Vecna's puppet. That's why it wants to kill 11 so bad. Fans have even found a way to tie the inciting incident of the entire series, Will Byers being abducted into the Upside Down directly to Vecna. Listen. It's not exactly the sound effect from Vecna's grandfather clock from Season 4. But it's pretty close. Now, does that mean that Vecna was part of the plan from the very start? It's impossible to say unless the Duffer Brothers ever actually come out and reveal what their plans were. Maybe they had an initial idea for Vecna and kept their nods to him pretty vague, or maybe they backfilled their story to match up the elements and make them work together. Either way, fans have definitely put the puzzle pieces together to make them fit, now knowing that Vecna made all those stranger things happen. Let's talk about Barb. Remember back when everyone wanted justice for her after the first season? Lots of fans were upset that she just died off screen after being abducted to the Upside Down. Her fate is revealed in a quick shot where 11 finds her body, along with the still-alive Will. At least some fans seem to miss that brief glimpse of Barb's body entirely, insisting that Barb's storyline never got finished. Others just weren't satisfied with what they got.
We neglected her, and as such, Hawkins neglected her, and it made her that much more famous, so I think it all worked out.
The fan outcry got so big that an investigation into Barb's fate became a major subplot in Season 2, with Barb's parents sort of representing the fans who thought she deserved better.
We're going to find our Barb.
Looking back, it's a little frustrating that so much screen time is spent looking back at a storyline that got resolved rather than pushing forward into new territory. That said, it does give Nancy some needed character depth. Her arc throughout the rest of the series is largely focused on resolving her guilt over leaving Barb alone to be kidnapped and killed.
Do you remember what you did, Nancy?
Though some interesting stuff came out of it, it's pretty funny to consider how upset fans got over Barb's singular death when, by Season 3, literally dozens of innocent Hawkins residents are being mushed up into goo to become part of the Mind Flayer's body made of bodies. Another Vecna-related thing we noticed during our second watch is how the villain may have been teased via Billy's mannerisms after he's possessed by the Mind Flayer. We know what you're thinking, but there seriously might be something to this. The way he walks, the way he talks, specifically the cadence, it all really reminds us of Vecna. Or more so Henry before his voice gets all growly. The biggest hint though is that he refers to the Mind Flayer as he.
He made me do it.
Will refers to the Mind Flayer this way as well in both Season 2 and Season 3. Why would they refer to a sexless shadow monster from the Upside Down as he instead of just it? We may be trying too hard to find hints that aren't there, but it's still worth mentioning since it stuck out to us on a second watch. The 7th episode of Stranger Things Season 2 was weird enough when we saw it the first time, but it sticks out like a sore thumb when you go back and rewatch everything. If you don't remember, it's the one where 11, in the midst of some really bad stuff going down in Hawkins, takes a bus to Chicago to find a girl she saw in some visions when she met her mom. That girl turns out to be Carly, another one of Dr. Brenner's test subjects, number 8 specifically. Carly leads an X-Men-like team of outcasts in revenge missions against people who were involved in the experiments on kids at the Hawkins lab.
You kill them? They're criminals. We simply make them pay for their crimes.
In the episode, they nearly kill a lab tech named Ray until 11 stops them because he has 2 young daughters. Carly and her group make a hard push for 11 to join them. In addition to giving 11 a makeover, Carly also shows her visions of Dr. Brenner, whom 11 believes to be dead. But 11 declines and goes back to Hawkins to save her friends from the Mind Flayer instead. Carly's story has been explored in some comics since, but in the show, she's been mentioned exactly one time. That's it.
Do you remember the day a strange woman came to see you? This would have been when 8 was still here.
Maybe they'll circle back to Carly and her ragtag team in Season 5. One of the highlights of Season 2 is undoubtedly Sean Astin's character, Bob Newby.
Be safe.
I hope it doesn't suck.
The lovable nerd manages to steal your heart the second he pops up on screen, and he, of course, just as easily breaks it when he decides to go and be a hero and get himself killed. We have to admit, though, we weren't quite as devastated during our second watch. Yes, part of it is because we knew it was coming, but also, this time around we knew that Joyce eventually ends up with Hopper. Bob and Joyce are obviously a cute couple, but come on, she and Hopper are made for each other, and the moment they finally seal the deal is earth-shattering. Sorry, Bob, it truly is better this way. It's also kind of funny to think about how Hopper probably would have died if Bob hadn't figured out that Will's drawings were a map of the Upside Down's tunnel system. Little did he know, Bob was ensuring his girlfriend's future happiness. Every Stranger Things fan remembers when Season 3 dropped. Love it or hate it, you can't deny that there's a serious tonal shift that's noticeable from the get-go. Mainly, they attempted to inject a lot more humor into the mix. Sometimes it lands, sometimes it doesn't, and it's all the more apparent on a second watch, especially the bits that revolve around Elle and Mike dating. Sure, the depiction of adolescent awkwardness is spot on, but that whole bit with Hopper not being able to handle it kind of veers off into some weird places. Remember when he locks Mike in the car and straight up threatens him?
You want to see real crazy? You disrespect me again.
Yeah, it's meant to be funny, but it doesn't really feel that way on our end. The scene where he pressures Joyce into going on a not-date date is also more cringy than humorous, mostly because she's still kinda grieving Bob after his untimely death. Come on, man. Ultimately, a lot of the characters just don't act like themselves throughout the season. We're glad they decided to move away from this approach. Another thing we didn't really think about until we watched it a second time was the whole thing with Max's stepbrother Billy being possessed by the Mind Flayer in Season 3. When the gang devises a plan to go and destroy the Russian gate, it's implied that Billy will die right alongside the Mind Flayer. Remember that in Season 2, everyone knew to rid Will of it before they did any damage to it. Max was a part of this plan, so she is definitely aware of the rules in Season 3, and thus knows that her stepbrother is doomed. That being said, there's at least a small part of her that is totally fine with him biting the dust, which would make sense considering how awful he always was to her in the past. Of course, Billy sees the light and sacrifices himself to save Max and the others before the gate is destroyed, so he technically doesn't die that way in the end. Coming to Season 4 and being reintroduced to fan favorite Eddie Munson is just as fun as it was the first time.
You want something, freak?
Of course, it goes without saying that it was also a bittersweet moment since we know all too well how the Axeman meets his end in the season finale. With each passing scene, we smiled less and less as his painful end drew nearer. Speaking of his death, we noticed a pretty obvious bit of foreshadowing that we can't believe we missed during the first watch. Can you guess what we're talking about? Here's a hint, you can only see it when he's not wearing something long-sleeved. Give up? Look at the bat tattoo on his right forearm. It can't possibly be a coincidence, right? Sure, it's not surprising that a D&D playing metalhead like Eddie would have such a tat, but come on, the Duffer Brothers had to have done that on purpose for the Easter egg lovers. There's actually another thing about Eddie's death, or should we say the moments leading up to it, that we didn't catch the first time, and it all has to do with his most badass feat.
Chrissy, this is from you.
Yep, if you're a Metallica fan and pay close attention to Master of Puppets as Eddie shreds atop the trailer in the Upside Down, you'll notice that various parts of the song are played out of order or repeated. For instance, the section Eddie's playing when Dustin tells him T-minus 30 seconds actually happens after the guitar solo, not in the bars leading up to it. There's also a part in the solo itself where we hear the opening section twice. We're not saying this is a detail that matters whatsoever in the scheme of things. They undoubtedly decided to do this for editing reasons after the fact, and we don't blame them for doing it. It is an 8+ minute song after all, and the end result is obviously one of the coolest scenes in the entire show. Still though, it's an oddity that really sticks out on a second watch, especially if you're a Metallica fan who knows how to play the song all the way through on guitar. Side note, Joseph Quinn forever gets props for actually learning how to play the song himself, downstrokes and all. You don't have to go back and binge the earlier seasons of Stranger Things to know that the final episode of Season 4, which clocks in at 2 hours and 20 minutes, is long. The Duffers have unveiled the official runtimes of the first 4 episodes of Season 5. The shortest one of those is 54 minutes. Compared to Season 4, that's pretty brisk, and shorter than the rumored 90-plus minutes for each installment. Others are longer, of course. Episode 4 is basically feature length at 83 minutes. All that said, it is pretty wild to go back and see just how much shorter an episode was during the first season. The pilot, 46 minutes. Season 1, Episode 7 is under 40. The first season finale is less than an hour. Season 2 managed to do that too. So, why did the episodes get so much longer? Well, for one, it kind of seems like Netflix has stopped caring about episodes of their shows matching up to the lengths of traditional TV episodes. There have been Love is Blind episodes that stretch past an hour since that show started in 2020. Then there's just, the curse of popularity. The Stranger Things audience is huge, and everyone wants something different from the show. They all have different favorite characters and plot lines, and there's almost assuredly a pressure to service all the different parts of the fanbase. That takes time. Can't go having another Barb-style freakout, can we?